So although you don't get kind of that ethereal 3D sound, you get a more organic sound, and then you use the dynamics of the amp to create the sound you're going for. That's kind of my thing. I mean, I have a pedal board with tons of delay pedals on it. None of them ever go in any effects loop. It's just not a thing I ever do. They all go right into the amp and the way the amp responds. And I judge a delay pedal on how well it does in front of the amp. Any delay pedal can work after the amp. I want to know how those repeats hit the amp and how they sound. So that's why a lot of the productions that I do have that. If I'm going to do post effects, honestly, still barely ever use effects loops. I just did. Plenty of my amps have them, but I just grew up not using them to the point where like I don't even think to use them. If I'm going to do effects that are going to be after the amp, I usually just use plugins in the computer and put them on the dry tracks because that's the most flexible way to do it. And it's effectively the same thing as doing them through an effects loop. So for me, it's either just dial in the sound that's cool and have the amp hug the sound and contain the sound and then create the harmonics and the swooshing within the amp. And it's simpler, but it's almost more interesting and contained. If you're trying to go for something really mind-bending, you can do stuff afterwards. But I like to save that stuff for the big special moments. I don't like that to just be all the time. Anytime I turn on a delay, it's doing I get to go and it just loses that sustain and just creates a different sound. So that's the way that I do, that's the way I do modulation effects and delays. I just find it's kind of cool, and it just lends to the kind of music that I've generally made. Obviously, I know when it's time to bust out the sweet 80s solo delay. And for me, it's actually kind of a treat because to me, that's not the way I've always done it. So because I've done it so sparsely, I actually do kind of get a lot out of just hearing that just silky sweet sound, and it's actually kind of fun for me because it's the exception. But I definitely like running delays and modulation in the front of the amps, and I found that there's a whole generation of kids that don't do it. Check it out, do it. Go get a delay pedal and run into the front of the amp. Get a Boss DD20 and run into the front of the amp. You might find out that a lot of the people you've been listening to do it, and a lot of the bands that you look up to, that's how they do it, and it sounds pretty cool.